guys, in this Let's Practice Together video, we will be learning how to play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. This beloved classic was first introduced to us in the movie Wizard of Oz, sung by the legendary Judy Garland. For this video, we will be using the arrangement made by Kim Dong-yeon from his book Violin, 재주에 빠지다. Okay, let's get started. Before starting with our usual notes, I would like us to skim through the whole piece so that we can compartmentalize each section and make the note learning process more concise. So in this piece, we have two melodies. The first melody is this melody. So we will be calling this melody A. Now the second melody that we have is this. So whenever the first melody comes, we will be calling it A dash something. And whenever the second melody comes, we will be calling it B dash something. So what I would like you guys to do is take your pencil and then mark on top of measure 3 A-1 because measure 3 starts like this. So it was the first melody. Now I would like us to mark measure 11 A-2 because measure 11 starts like this. It's a little bit more ornamented, but it's still the first melody. So that will be A-2. Now measure 19 sounds like this. So that will be B1. So on top of measure 19, B1. Now measure 27. It's actually the exact same as measure 11. So we will be marking this A2 again. Now, the last three measures, measure 35 sounds like this. And it's a little bit different from measure 19, so we will be marking this B2. So just to recap, we have A1, A2, B1, A2, B2. So basically, if we learn two melodies, then we know how to play the whole piece. Okay, so let's get started with the notes. We will be starting from measure 3, and the first note is D3, 2 on the E string, 1 on the E string, 3 here, open E, 1, 2, this is measure 5. Now, the second note of measure 5, you have two choices. You can either use your fourth finger or the open E string. Measure 6 is here. Okay, so let's see how that sounds like. Now we have a huge string crossing from the very beginning. So mentally it will be very helpful if we anticipate this huge jump. And then second finger here. 1, 3, open E, first finger on the E string. Again, huge jump to the D string. Now fourth finger or open E. Okay, so this is how it's supposed to sound, and I would like to talk about measure 4, the rhythm. So we see a 3 bracket on the dan da da. So we call this triplet. So how do we practice a triplet? So usually it's easy when we divide the note with even numbers. So from going from 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just it's more natural this way. But when we have to divide it into the compound numbers, 3, 6, 9, it gets a little bit more tricky. So this is the practice method that I recommend. Just choose a word with 2 syllables and choose a word with 3 syllables, and then go back and forth, verbalizing the difference between the duple and the triple. So for today's video, let's choose the word dragon and dinosaur. So if this is one beat, dragon, dragon, dinosaur, dinosaur, dragon, dragon, dinosaur, dinosaur, dragon, dinosaur, dragon, dinosaur. So once you are verbally comfortable going back and forth between the duple and triple, then we can pick up the violin, and first we will take off the tie. So we will be going from the second beat of measure 4. So let's just practice. So this is 1, 2, dinosaur, dinosaur. Now we are going to be going from the beginning of measure 4, but this time subdivide the F sharp. So let's subdivide it into 3 notes. So basically, once you reach measure 4, you can internally count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So measure 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, so this is a really accurate way to count the triplets. Once you guys are much more comfortable with this, then we can play around with the rhythm a little bit more. But for now, this is a great way to begin. Let's continue on with the second part of the A melody, which is starting from measure 7. So we start the first finger on the D string. Next note of 7 is the second finger on the A string. And then measure 8, just move the first finger 1 string over. Then 3 on D string, A. We still have the 1, 2, and then open A. 2 on the D, 3 right next to it. Open A, 1, and then measure 10, 3. Okay, so let's see how that sounds. Let's go a little bit under tempo. First note. Okay, did we all find that note? Next note. Okay, let's find it. It sounds like this. Now, if you placed your first finger well, then our first finger should already be on the A string. And then 3 on the D, open A, 1 on the A. Now measure 9, open A, 2, 1. Okay, so let's put that together. 3, 4. Okay, so when we look at this whole A section, we have the first part of A and then the second part of A. So for measure 7, which is where the second part of A begins, we have two options with the bowing. So to play from measure 5, we can retake if you want a little bit more calm silence in the rest area, there's another option. Same place, measure 5. Just stay there. And then have everything go backwards. So depending on what kind of connection you want from measure 6 to 7, you can try out both these options. Okay, now measure 11 is so similar to measure 3, except that a baby note is added in the end of the measure. So let's go from measure 11, the same 3 on the D string. Now the second note is the same, and then the A on the E string is added. Measure 12 is the same as 4. Now here, open E, another baby note is added. So let's talk about measure 13. So fingering wise, we have go to the E string, or if you don't like the bright E string jump from the dark D string, then here we can use the third position. So remember we talked about shifting, so your thumb has to go with the hand. So we are going from the first position. This is the third position. So just take these two notes, E and G, and then practice slowly the slide. And then repeat this exercise a couple of times. So when we connect this from measure 12, we have to go from first position to third, and then we can use the A string. So a little bit of a warmer tone. Now measure 15 to 18 is the same as 7 to 10, so we don't have to repeat that. Okay, so let's go from 11 to 14. Shifting purposes, move your first finger to the D string. So it was on the E string, move it back, and then find the note, and then second finger is on the last line, and then first finger here. Now measure 15. Again, you can either use down bow or up bow, your choice. Now in this case, because I chose to go up bow for measure 15, I ended up bow for 18. Now 18's last note is another up bow. So here, just stay where you are. Don't lift the bow. Just stop it and then go. So it looks like this. Don't take it off and retake, but just leave it there. Leave. And and then continue on. Okay, so let's check the notes for measure 19. So this is the B melody. So first finger is on the A string. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. So basically 1 and 3 going back and forth. So obviously don't lift your first finger. Measure 20 is 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. So 2, 3. Don't lift the second. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And then use the open E string. Now pick up to measure 23. Now 23, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, same as measure 19. Now 24 is a little bit different. So the second finger, because there's a sharp, we will be putting it here instead of here. So measure 20 was here, measure 24 is here. So 2, I would use open E string. You can use the fourth finger, so, or 2. And then measure 25 is 1 on the E string. 26, 3, 0, 1. Let's go from pickup to 19 and see how that sounds like. So basically it's the 3, 1, 3, 1. So let's find the first finger first. And the third finger is here. So it's basically, so it sounds like birds chirping away. So it's actually really beautiful. Okay, so let's go from pickup to measure 19. Open E 3 times. Now it's the 3, 1 again, so find the 1, 3. Now pick up to 23. Now the new second finger placement, because we have the C sharp. Now slur the last note, same bow. Now measure 25, begin up bow, E1. Now we arrive 27. So 27 note-wise is exactly the same as 15, but the characteristic is much more developed because we had the new B melody serve as a bridge material. So the way we play measure 15 and the way we play measure 27 can be very contrasting. So there will be a lot of adjectives, different adjectives that we can choose. So for some people, the 27 section may feel more elated. For some people, more dramatic. For some people, more passionate. For some people, more stormy. So whichever it may be, technically speaking, it's a more louder area, a higher volume area. So let's talk about how to achieve that. Number 1, bow length. So depending on how much bow we use, so bow length or bow speed, it's essentially the same thing. So the volume changes. Number 2, bow pressure. So this is under the assumption that the bow length is similar. So even with a short amount of bow, the characteristic, the articulation, and the volume differs. Number 3, sounding point. So when we are near the fingerboard versus near the bridge. So in other words, pressure point, how much pressure can the violin take? So when we are near the fingerboard, the violin can't take much pressure, whereas when we come near the bridge, it can take a lot of pressure. So when we are in measure 11, maybe this kind of timbre. Whereas when we are in measure 27, near the bridge. So a lot more volume and core into the sound. So just to recap, number 1, play around with your bow length or speed. Number 2, play around with your bow pressure. Number 3, play around with your sounding point. Okay, since measure 27 until 34, the notes are the same, let's skip to the pickup of measure 35. So it starts the same as measure 19. So let's find our 1, 3. Okay, so we start with the third finger since it's the pickup to 35. Starts the same as 20. Now from here, the last 3 notes of the piece is a little bit different. They're all on the E string, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that's all the notes, guys. Let's put this piece together from the beginning until the end. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed learning this beloved classic, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!